a better Nigeria? Is it a myth or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria?
Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only drive to be an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr. Reju. Hi, my name is Onari, and this is Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. A couple of weeks ago on this program, we started a revolutionary journey into the world of governance. We have touched on 3 solid systems which every right-functioning society must uphold: the political, economic, and religious systems. We discussed these 3 systems within the context of the Nigerian society. Please visit our Facebook page, Answers with Dr. Reju, for a repeat of those previous episodes. Today, we continue the discourse we started last week on human infrastructure. I have Adam Slojok, Obi Brown, and Dr. Reju in the studio this evening. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Onari.
Now, Obi, get started immediately.
So, Dr. Reju, I listened to the last episode and I must say that I was a bit pained because you mentioned something very critical. You said that a defective society throws up defective leaders. Now, what we have is a non-ending loop where the defective society throws up the bad leader who now makes the society more defective, and then it now throws up that bad leader again who now makes it more, who now adds to the defectiveness, so to speak, of the society. At what point will this loop be truncated? How will we stop it?
Yeah, sometimes when we look at these issues and we ask questions, sometimes we're very quick to just throw in a particular simplistic solution. But many times it's not that easy, because when we say that a defective society throws up the wrong people, it is not that some people are just handpicking people. Wrong people come up because it's become systemic. If you're going to reverse the order, we also need something that throws up the right people to be also systemic. But the issue here is that the Nigerian society is so, it's so difficult to do things right. It's really difficult, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. So it's going to require that within the limits of the difficulty, what can I, as an individual, do to make sure that in my own little space, right, I can begin to do things in the right way, excuse me, so that, it's not that you're just taking advantage of a defective system. So the leadership plays a role, but whatever the leaders would do, there has to be a response to from the people. And the principle of leadership, I think you were the one that mentioned it, that the leaders come from the people, right? In the same way, it's going to start with, fine, there are things wrong, but what can I do in my own little space to make sure that I do things right? But I must tell whosoever is making up his mind or her mind to do things right that you're going to run into a lot of brick walls. So it takes a lot of courage, it takes fortitude, it takes a strong determination that I want to be part of a good society. I can do my part. And I always believe something too, that in Nigeria, with all the problems that we have, the challenges present also opportunities. Why, for instance, will I drive on the wrong side of the road just because everybody does it? The level of decay in terms of value system in Nigeria, maybe that's another thing I need to emphasize. We've not even come to terms with how terrible things are. Do you know that most Nigerians don't know how to drive on the right? They don't know how to drive on the right. It's become normal. In fact, some road signs are wrong. The junction to my office, the road sign there is wrong. If you follow the road sign put there by, PW, you will be making a U-turn driving on the left. So that's how terrible it is. But it takes that individual to say that I want to do things right. I want to do things right in my own little space. But my warning is that in your determination to do things right, you want to show a lot of courage because you are going to be the odd person out. So in the middle of all the problems in Nigeria, there are opportunities to actually begin. So when I choose to do things right, when Obi choose to do things right, when Adams choose to do things right, when Onari choose to do things right, unknown to us, we're already creating a system, and it can get quite infectious. But it takes time. It takes people who can be there for the long haul. I don't know if I answer your question, but I think people are responsible for a society that throws bad people up. People will also be responsible for a society that throws the right people up.
So, I mean, Dr. Reju, we find that Nigerians don't really have the best reputation outside the country. But, it's not as though every Nigerian outside the country is bad. There's no statistics yet, but I want to really believe that the people who give us a bad name are, substantially very little, just that they are very vocal. So is it that the people who behave right, the people who, have good values are actually quiet?
You're very right. That's one big challenge that we have in Nigeria. I believe that in a country of, I don't know how many we are now, 150, 160 million people, right? When you talk about those values, the issue is this. There are some that are written. There are some that are actually unwritten. Most times the unwritten becomes more popular than the written. Right? And those written, they are not actually values when you appraise them. But they are the things that runs the society. They are the most vocal people that actually promote this unwritten. They make the ones that are good really, really silent. Of the 150 million people, those who are really taking this country to this disaster that we seem to be heading towards, they are not up to maybe 20, 50,000. How many people are actually involved in active politics? I saw there's a guy this morning that they interviewed on TV. They were asking him, are you a member of this political party? He said, yes. The lady had to ask it, are you a card-carrying member? He said, no. How many Nigerians are actually card-carrying active politicians? There are very few. Those who call the shots in Nigeria are few. But you know what? That's the way it is in every society. But you see, there's something I learned when I spent time a bit in the US. There's a particular phrase, that they use, that it is not just my right to demand good governance. It is a duty. It's a duty. We've not come to embrace that kind of mentality in Nigeria. Somebody also, he gave an example. I think it was Peter Esele, the immediate past president of TUC. Said he went to a fuel station to buy petrol, and he insisted he was going to buy on the control price. Somebody behind him said, no, please, me, I'm in a hurry. I can buy at any. He said he wanted to actually raise an awareness there that if we insist here, we can change things. There's a place of civil disobedience that is non-violent. But you see, someone that's going to engage in that, you must have established a particular attitude that is sustained, that you are always desirous of doing things right. Right? So that's how it starts. Systems are run by people. If the bad people are so tenacious, very passionate about their bad agenda, that's what defines society. If the good people too are very passionate about their good agenda, many times I believe that those who are good are more. But the good people are very quiet. But there is a particular problem we have in Nigeria which we need to begin to change, and it's not going to come from leadership. It's going to come from how we as individuals begin to say that we need to begin to take responsibility for this country. And where that will come home is this. I'm going to also make this point before I keep quiet here, that we are the way we are because of the way those who hate this country have structured us to be. Right? But they didn't force us there. It was something they sold to us that we bought. Right? We can also refuse to buy it. They still need our assent for us to be who we are. We can also choose not to buy it.
Okay. So, Dr. Reju, we're experiencing this trend now of Nigerian students going abroad for schools. And it's a growing trend, such that it's not just the kids of the most prominent people now. Any ordinary, well-to-do Nigerian can send his children abroad. What does that portend, for the future of this country? Do you think something can come out of that?
It has its merits and demerits. And I'll start with the demerits. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of a recent experience that I had. Somebody very close to me just sent his son abroad. And I was asked to help to maybe arrange for accommodation and all those kind of things for this guy with my contacts and all those kind of things. And recently, a colleague of mine who is going to be visiting me soon, it was then I just saw his address bar that he actually lives in that same town where this my friend's son has just gone. And I said, oh, I didn't know you were in that town. And I mentioned the name of the school, and he said he has never heard of it. This is where this guy has lived for years. It's like somebody living in Jos and has never heard of University of Jos. So, with this migration abroad, right, to go and study, what kind of schools are they going to?
Critical.
That's very, very critical. You see, when the issue of studying abroad happened in this country years back, number one, it was due to inadequacy, right, of education institutions here. And then number two, it was to develop leadership. It was to develop, most of them went abroad on government scholarship. It was to develop leadership. Today, it's status. You see, those are the kind of mentalities that we need to change. Right? Here. So, you can actually go abroad because of merit and because of a well-intended mission. Right? There are actually some things that, some level of education that you want to get for somebody that are not obtainable here. I know that we have serious challenges with our tertiary education here. Serious ones. But I also believe, like I said in my last answer to the question, that these things might not just be that it happened that way, it might be intentional to weaken, the quality, to devalue the human infrastructure so that some people will continue to have their way. So one of the ways of responding to that might be, okay, if I have a school, I want to train, graduates of my school to abroad so that they can come back stronger. The school I attended in the US, every one of us had to come to an agreement that you're going to go back to your country. Right? And that's why such schools appeal to me. Now, it's a mixed grill here. The influx abroad. I saw the statistics of Nigerians studying in Ghana. I know people who send their awards to go to university in Republic of Benin. There's something wrong somewhere. If the purpose of your going abroad is not for human infrastructural development that will bring people back to come and add value, there's something wrong with that. If it's just for status, there's something wrong with that. And then you are sending a kid abroad when you've not even done any kind of background check. How can somebody be living in a particular town and you don't know, that person doesn't know that university? Say he has never heard of it. Now, this is somebody who is involved in education. So it's not just somebody who is uninterested. It's a bad trend. Rather than sending kids abroad in this unrestricted manner, why don't we rise up and demand quality?
Yeah.
For the universities that are here. I finished from University of Lagos. That university was started in 1962. Right? It's been there long enough to be a global brand. But what has happened? The last time they wanted to change the name, all the alumni rose up and said, we will never change the name of our university to one unknown name because it's a brand. And it didn't succeed. That's how to do it. So it takes a lot of effort and courage and commitment and patriotism, because we've gotten to a point where those who hate this country have also affected us, that nobody really cares what happens to this country, and that has to change.
Yeah, let's just stick on this point a little bit. What Adam started saying about education, because last week you mentioned the need for the development of human infrastructure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We know that perhaps that development may not be able to come from our institutions the way they're presently structured.
Absolutely.
Maybe that's why he asked about, those who are going abroad, although most of them don't really get to come back. And even when they come back, they queue for jobs like every other person.
Which is very unfortunate.
But we we also are aware that the structure of the system doesn't really support merit. And that's why you don't need to be the best candidate to even get into a unity school or to get into a university, or to get into some of those choice government.
These things. I think I really get your drift, and that will really take me back to something that we throw more light on what we're talking about, because where society begins from is the family. Education actually begins from the family. We run a school, and this is what we tell the parents. It is not the duty, it is not the responsibility of our school to educate your children. It is your responsibility, the parents. You only delegate that to us. And we are going to tell you in our school that we are not going to take that responsibility off you. We are going to partner with you. So it begins from home. Education begins from the family. Human capital development begins from the family. But you see a situation where most families, we have allowed the environment to really now define how we raise our children. When some parents will pay for chokes, the way they call it, right? For their words. Now, that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem. Then where are you going to have merit? When even in the family, you're already teaching your children that merit doesn't pay. That you must cut corners. Let me say something, and people won't accuse me of being so pessimistic. If Nigeria continues this way, it will implode. It's like somebody, that's gradually feeding on toxic food. It will just take a while. The person will develop some growth, some diseases, and all this. We have horrible value systems. We have defined for ourselves those kind of principles of life and living that are not universal, that are not even human. That's why people are short-fused. It's going to just take a little while. Because I see all the hoopla about change that everybody shouted in this last election. I don't see any change anywhere. That's personal for me. So meritocracy, a merit-oriented society, begins from the home. When a child knows that reward doesn't come for doing nothing, right? Reward comes on the basis of hard work. When we spoke about work on this program, we actually touched on that. It starts from the cradle. You give a little child an instruction, he obeys, she obeys, you reward. He doesn't obey, she doesn't obey, you punish. You are trying to teach that particular person something. I remember my dad, up to now, I have a problem with figures. I remember when we are doing carry, this in arithmetic. Once I carry, I forget the thing doesn't get to destination. I lose it on the way. What made me actually get that was that at every point that I miss it, I am denied something. It might not be physical cane. I'm denied something. It might even be something as simple as people making jest of me in the family. Right? And my dad created such a highly competitive system. So we were taught to understand that good deeds, hard work attracts reward. Rebellion, disobedience also has its reward, which is painful. So that's where merit starts from. But a situation where families too are compromised. I've had parents, who says, that your daughter's lecturer in school, send credit to him, everything will be okay. I'm telling you. So we can't begin to talk about merit in the open, in the big stage without starting from that micro level. Because the family is actually the unit of society. But what happens in those places? When you go and bribe to get admission for your word, it's a problem. But it's just as simple as we are reacting to what those who hate this society, the standards that they have set. If you don't do it for yourself, nobody will do it. That you pass WAEC is not a guarantee that you enter the university. That you pass JAMB is not a guarantee that you enter the university. So it's something that...
enter the university is not a guarantee that you graduate.
Exactly. So, it starts from there. And it's not going to take any magic. That's why on this program, especially on this issue, I'm trying my best not to be too prescriptive. Say, do this, and then you begin to... It doesn't work that way. Because we're talking about individuals who have a mind, who have been oriented in a particular way. It takes time. I remember when Obasanjo came into power, one thing he said, when we were talking about technology, he said, one thing Nigerians need, first of all, is a reorientation. It's a reorientation. And then when you take all of that and you go back into this our educational system and you look at the curriculum, they are out of tune with realities.
Absolutely.
Out of tune with realities. Coupled with that, it's an educational system that values paper qualification. Right? Those are the kind of things we need to really, so that the society becomes broad. It becomes broad.
This is Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. Dr. Reju, value learning starts from the home. How can parents begin to inculcate, teaching values?
Maybe along the line in this program, we're still going to talk about family, but for now, we have to first of all see that whatever society becomes ultimately, it's the foundation that the family laid. I'm talking about individuals now, because we've been talking about human infrastructure. There are some things that when a child gets to a particular stage, he can no longer learn it if he doesn't learn it at the right time. Now, the challenge that families have right now is that there's a lot of economic pressure, because in former times, most women are really home. I remember more the things my mom taught me, than, Papa just comes to come and clarify some things and put the fear of God into everybody and that kind of a thing. But it begins with the family, right? But it only begins there. But for parents, they have to know how what they teach a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old connects with what happens to a politician in the Senate. Yeah. That's the beginning. The only way responsibility can come and commitment can come, so that we will stop shouting at our televisions at home, right? Is to see that what I'm starting here, I don't know what this young boy is going to become, right? Because in families where things are really structured, you can actually raise your child to become somebody that is actually very impactful, very, very useful to society. But like I said, it begins with things as small as make up your room, right? And that principle of reward and punishment, if you don't see it that way, meritocracy is out of the door. When a child does something wrong and is not rebuked, that's how you build the foundation for what you hear in political spheres, in economy, of the culture of impunity. Impunity basically means that you've done something wrong and you get away with it. So it starts from the family. But there's also a time when that learning can no longer happen within the family system. It grows, into other partners, other sectors of society, church, mosque, and things like that. And other kind of places. Because the Nigerian society has become, it's become so monstrous. It's horrible. That even what you hear from churches, there is no teaching on character. There is all about making it. It's all about, there is no accountability system. Part of the thing, in this country is that maybe when somebody misbehaves, you go and report the person to his pastor. Nobody wants the pastor to hear that you have done something wrong. So it's something that we really need to look at those kind of areas and know that it is not just the politician there. What is the contribution of the family? What's the contribution of the church? Because the two major faiths in Nigeria, right, it is still an indictment that Nigeria is a nation known for people who practice their faith with so much commitment, and we still have this level. So no pastor there,
Absolutely.
no imam there can tell me that they are doing something meaningful.
Honestly,
it's a huge indictment.
There's this phrase I heard, I think I saw it on Twitter, and it was Obi Ezekwesili that retweeted it from somebody else. She says, why is everybody afraid that their children don't want to listen to them again? She said, you actually need to be afraid that your children are actually watching you.
Yeah. It's not what you say.
Exactly.
That somebody is watching your footsteps. Yeah. They are trying to follow your example.
Absolutely.
Right? They're trying to, but what are the examples that we give? Children hear their parents lie. You know, you see some children dressed outside and you're wondering, did their parents see them before they come out? One of the problems in this country is this issue of I go to church, I go to mosque. It's not, whatever truth you believe, it must change your life. It must change your life if it is really truth. But these churches are failing, these mosques are failing, because it's not translated into good citizenship.
Yeah.
Right? We cannot claim that we are doing anything meaningful. Everywhere is dotted with churches. There are Muslims everywhere. Friday, the road is blocked because some people are praying. I'm sorry. It's not affecting anything.
Are you really?
Without that for the sake of courtesy.
Okay.
But it's not really affecting. We appraise ourselves. How does a company know that they are doing well? The quality of their products. The product of families, of churches, of mosques is the citizenry. If this is what we have, then we're just playing games. It's just waste of quality time. Those time we spend in the mosque and the hours we spend in the church. It's just big waste of time because it's not translating to good citizenship. Yeah.
So what are you really advocating here, Dr. Reju?
That you see.
Okay.
In a functional society, churches, mosques, they are regulated. Yeah. You can't say you want to pastor. Do you know that in a place like America, you can't counsel if you are not certified? If you are not certified, you can't give anybody counsel. That might have its downsides. Somebody might say, no, it's the Holy Ghost that throws people up, is whatever. I don't know how it's done in the mosque. But the point is, those institutions are integral part of society. And but unfortunately, nobody wants to talk about them. Because we believe that the issue of faith is highly emotive. But if these guys have become toxic to society, we should bring it out. We should point it out.
And we will point it out.
We will point it out.
I think we will. We owe
because there are expectations of this institution. Many of their leaders are respected. There are people that that citizens should they really listen to them. But what are they being fed with? Because people are what they eat. What are they really being fed with?
Okay, we'll draw the curtain here. But we will not end here. This is a journey. Thank you, Dr. Reju, for your insight. Obi Brown, Adams Lojok, it's good to have you today. Give us a call or chat us on WhatsApp on 081-4456-9000. Check out our website and interact with us on www.answerswithdrreju.com. Like our Facebook page, Answers with Dr. Reju, or send us an email at answerswithdrreju@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are Dr. Reju Answers. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Answers with Dr. Reju, where you can get all our episodes. Join us again on Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified.